What's good, everybody? It's your man Big Dom coming live and at you with another True Players Podcast episode, hitting you with the in-your-face, unedited, straight, blunt talk about sports, finances, relationships, current events, and many other topics along the way. Check out my next episode. What's good, everybody? It's your man Big Dom coming back at you with another True Players Podcast episode with my brother Joey G, who's just going to be here in support and keeping me in control because I'm going to be doing a whole lot of motherfucking venting. I'm already cursing. It's already been first 13 seconds in this damn fucking podcast as the New York Knicks lose Game 7 at the Garden against the Pacers.
Right.
I've seen people on Facebook giving them a pat on the back and saying that if they weren't injured, if they were healthy, they would have beaten the Pacers. Let me end that right there. Despite the injury situation, they should have beaten this Pacers team in 5 games. Despite the injury situation.
Agreed.
They gave those Pacers two games, at least 2 to 3 games in the series. And the game that you gave them was in Game 7. You came out with no energy.
Right.
No, that game from the beginning had a bad feeling, a very bad feeling. Granted, you got Josh Hart playing hurt with his abdominal strain. OG came back and tried to give you some minutes, but OG was not himself. This was not a Willis Reed moment. Actually, kind of helped with the lethargy that started that game with off with. Right. Before I continue, let Joey G introduce yourself to people, Joe.
What's going on? It's your man Joey G. You know who I am. I'm your co-host for the True Players Podcast, the host of Beer Convo and Family, and co-host to Talking Random Ish with your man Ricky King. Just here supporting, just trying to support this Knicks through the season and get through a championship, but that did not happen, and I'm kind of disappointed in that. I feel Dom's pain on the situation. Now I understand how Mets fans felt during their whole reign. As fans with the ups and the downs. This is why I don't watch sports from beginning to end because I come in at the tail end of it, watch it, and get it over with. Watching the whole season, I understand. It was very painful because I was invested. I was invested from the beginning. And I thought that they were going to go a lot further than what they did. I thought they had everything they needed, the tools. They had the team. They even had the secondary if they wanted to utilize them correctly. From what I saw, very disappointed. Very disappointed.
You're disappointed. I'm beyond. I don't even know how I'm getting myself to do this podcast today. Watch what I saw yesterday. The ambiance was set right. The moment was there for this team.
Right.
Moment was there for this team. You had everybody, all the ex-Knicks sitting in the same row. Whether it was Latrell, Camby, John Starks, who's been there in every home game, Larry Johnson. Right. You know what I'm saying?
They felt it.
You know that was the old Knick team that I came to love in the 90s. You know what I'm saying? And the fact that
they came to show out.
Mm-hmm. They came to
show out and support the team.
But yeah, so the reason I'm saying this is because of two things. Granted, OG came back, didn't expect him to play.
Right.
He got the first 5 points quick.
Right.
But he was not moving on defense.
Right.
He got easy baskets.
Right.
But I'm gonna say this though. Why we spoke this all before we started the podcast, bro.
Mm-hmm.
When you're playing against a player on the other team who has won the championship, who has a ring on his finger,
right?
And Pascal Siakam, you don't play with that man. You don't play with that man on the Game 7. You don't play with
No.
that man.
No. Not at
He's
all.
been there. He's won the chip. He was the main cog in the Toronto Raptors winning
Right.
that championship. He wasn't a fifth or sixth player. He was number 2 or 3 player on that team behind Kawhi Leonard, winning
Right.
that championship. You don't take a chance with that man leading that young Pacer team in a game 7.
True.
I don't care. I don't care about injuries.
Right.
Does injuries factor into the situation? Yes, it surely does.
To a degree.
Also help. It didn't help that you played against a dirty ass Philadelphia Sixers team either.
True.
But the thing is, though, with this team, because with the way it was constituted, you should have won in 5 games. It should have never even went to game 6. If you took care of business in game 3, this series is over in game 5.
Right.
But you gave this team life.
Yeah, you did.
And the thing is that you have like I said before, I can say it again. I'm gonna keep saying it until people get mad at me. You have a champion on that team, leading that team. And look what happened. While Knicks lacked energy, he was scoring early buckets, getting Tyrese Halliburton involved in the game, getting those boys in the state of mind that they were going to win this game 7. It felt this. I could compare this to the New York Mets' last playoff appearance against the San Diego Padres. That game 1.
Okay.
That's how those guys came into that Martin Smith Square Garden. They came to that arena. The Pacers came in there knowing that they were going to win that game.
Right. They already had that energy.
And then this team our team is busy worried about injuries and no, man, just play. You got to get one more. You had to get one more.
That's it.
And the problem is, had they won game 6, because the Timberwolves and the Nuggets went to game 7, they would have had 5 days off instead of playing a game 7. And if you had you win against the Boston Celtics, you had 1 game off.
Right.
This is the mentality. This is the lack of focus that I saw. While everybody's giving the Knicks a pat on the back, goes, "Oh, if they were healthy," I'm not trying to hear that. I can't hear that. I'm tired of seeing my team every time I go to the playoffs, get to the second round, all of a sudden they lose.
Right.
So
when we had the trajectory to win.
We not only did we have the trajectory to win, it would the momentum was in our favor. Through all the trials and tribulations this team went through the entire season,
Correct.
It was in our favor, and we blew it. We blew it. I don't want to. Like I said, anybody wants to challenge me, I'm gonna put the link. I'm gonna put the link in. Anybody wants to sit there and give the Knicks a pat on the back, please come on this podcast. Please come on this podcast. I'm gonna put it in the comments. Please. And anybody wants to sit there and tell me I'm not a Knicks fan, you don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Right.
So I love this team, and this team let me down. Let me down yesterday. I don't mind losing. I don't mind losing the game by 2-3 points, and you put your heart out there. Then you can say it's the injuries. When you came out in that first few minutes, you gave no energy. Come on, man.
No.
Come on. You lost me on that. You really lost me on that.
Right.
All right. Let's talk about what happened during the game.
Gotcha.
Brunson had 17 points, 17 shooting, 9 assists. Okay. Josh Hart played with a dominant string, gave 10 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists. DiVincenzo played a hell of a game. 39 points, 11-21 from the field. And surprisingly, the second leading scorer was Alec Burks with 26 points.
He did it. He did a good job. He did a good job. He sacrificed himself on a couple of plays. I was like, oh, he's taking the brunt of it for the fouls.
But you got,
Go ahead.
But you got to. This is a game 7. There is no tomorrow.
Right. And he was putting in the work for that. Like, I could see that he wanted it. Like, it showed in his sacrifice for the fouls, because those were some hard fouls.
And the thing is, Pascal Siakam had a great start to the game, and so did Halliburton. When Halliburton was hitting those 3-pointers, Granted, Deuce McBride is too small to guard him. I get that,
Right.
but you gotta give Tyrese Halliburton his props in that game. He was talking bad trash to the crowd and all that stuff. But please, announcers, don't compare him to Reggie Miller. He's not Reggie Miller.
Right.
Okay, he's a nice
Not at
guy.
all.
He's a nice guy.
Right.
He's not no villain. Don't you don't compare this Nick team, Nick Pacers rival against the Nick team of the past and the Ray Pacers in the past. Those was real games back then. You know what I'm saying? Those
Right.
was real games.
Competitive.
Everybody bought it every night.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But the thing is too, I'm gonna go after the coach too. I'm gonna go after the coach. As
Okay.
good of a coach Tom Thibodeau is, he's not a great coach.
Okay.
And I'm gonna
What
get to
what
that too.
where's he lacking?
He's too stubborn.
Okay.
When you have injuries, the type of injuries that Josh Hart had, abdominal strain,
Right.
that's nothing to do with anything but fatigue.
Right.
You play that man 48 minutes per game.
Mm.
You refuse to play Alec Burks. You stick
Right.
with a rotation of 6 or 7 players per
Right.
game in a playoff atmosphere, which the intensity is 5 times more than what it is in the regular season. You need
Right.
7 or 8 guys in that rotation.
Right.
That's unacceptable coaching. And another
Right.
thing too, with the offense that the Knicks run,
Hmm.
they Tom Thibodeau needs to get it through his fucking head. He didn't get it through his head in Chicago. He didn't get it through his head in Minnesota. I saw ball without winning the playoffs.
Mm.
You saw how them Pacers beat that team yesterday, bro. Player movement, ball movement.
Right.
No matter how great your defense is, when you got that ball movement and player movement on fire, ain't no defense gonna stop it.
No.
And guess what? Those boys can play some defense too.
Right.
McConnell was been a goddamn pest throughout the series.
Yeah, he did.
The Knicks, like I said, I'll give them their pat on the back. They gave us an entertaining season. They fought to the
Right.
second seed. Okay,
Right.
they fought and got the second seed. We saw growth in Jalen Brunson.
Hmm.
They made a good trade. They made a great trade to get OG Anunoby.
He showed his worth. Yes.
You know what I'm saying? You traded away RJ Barrett and IQ. You traded away Obi Toppin.
Hmm.
But guess out of those 2 players you traded for, one of them was going to the East Conference Finals.
Right.
That's Obi Toppin. You traded away You traded away RJ Barrett and IQ. You only got to play one more game in the second round. When you
Mm.
make a trade like when you make a trade like that, bro, I'm expecting
Mm.
Eastern Conference Finals and more. Bare
Right.
minimum. Bare minimum.
Right.
You didn't get that. All you got was game 7 in the second round.
Mm.
That's unacceptable.
It is.
For the amount of the players that you gave for OG,
Hmm.
you should have went further this year.
True.
Granted. Now I'm gonna get on the coach.
Thibodeau.
Where I felt we lost the season,
Hmm.
the opportunity to play in the NBA Finals, was a game in January against the Miami Heat. We were up by 20 points, and I believe with 4 minutes and 30-some seconds left in the fourth quarter.
Right.
And we saw Julius Randle injure his shoulder. My question to the coach is what the fuck he was doing in that game with up 20 with 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter. In a regular season game that's not meaningless, that's not even that important. As a coach,
Hmm.
you got to step in there and say, "Yo, let me pull this man out, so keep him safe."
Right. You should.
'Cause you know Julius Randle's going to go hard. He's going to go hard to the basket, whatever it takes
Hmm.
to get his points. But when that man fell on his shoulder,
Hmm.
The Knicks, granted, I'm gonna say this with the team that they had already had down,
Mm.
still would have should have won the Eastern Conference Finals. Still should have went to the
Agreed.
Eastern Conference Finals and give the Celtics a good 6 or 7 game series. But
Actually,
if they
that's
had,
where I thought the game was gonna get there. I thought that was my prediction on the game. I didn't see this coming. I didn't see this type of game being played, nor did I think that was gonna be the outcome. Not at all. I thought it was gonna be like almost like a bye, where last game is like, okay, we're gonna let that one go, go into the next one being stronger. And plus, you're gonna be at home, so I thought the energy from being at home would motivate you. You got the support of your fans and everything like that. I thought it was gonna be a different scenario. And plus, you had veterans players that are sitting in the stands rooting for their team with that same energy, like they were players.
let me tell you something. If that was John Starks or LJ or Latrell Sprewell or one of those guys, trust me, they would have brought that energy.
Right?
They would have brought that energy. But let's not beat them up too much, bro. We
No,
get
I'm not gonna.
we get the injury part. We get the injuries. But
I get it.
I'm speaking from not from a emotional standpoint, as most people are going to say that I am.
Right.
I'm speaking with logic here.
Right.
This
It's more.
coach
Right. More of a
again
disappointment for the coach. Yeah.
again got outcoached.
Right.
We see it with the Miami coach last season. We saw it again this season. A
They,
good defensive coach, good defensive head coach, but your offense has to be more than just ISO ball. And when the ISO ball hurt the Knicks, is with
mhm,
their superstar who didn't get a good read of the game, who was
mhm.
wanting to try to get himself off, not in a negative way. He just
No.
try to get his rhythm back. But while
Right.
trying getting his rhythm back, he messed up the guys who already had the rhythm.
Right. Which is kind of selfish. It's
I,
kind of selfish. We seen in other games where he actually stepped up to the plate and I'm missing my shot, so I'm gonna pass the ball. I've seen him do that, and it worked out. Get the assist, get the rebound, get the steal. We talked about this throughout the season. We talked about this. I thought that was gonna be the play. You're not making your shots. Please do something else.
he does he does get the assists, but there's a difference in getting assists to make your team better. And there's the assist where you had no choice but to throw the ball to somebody else and you just made a shot. It's two different type of assists.
I agree.
When you got 3 or 4 people around you and you got no choice but to throw the ball,
Right,
it still counts as an assist. But think about how it got there.
right, right. A forced assist as opposed to a thought out assist.
And I'm not like I said, Jalen's going to tell you he's not making no excuses, and I respect him. I love Jalen about that. He's the leader of this team.
Right,
Him and his Villanova boys, they're true leaders of the team. Was the lack of energy because of the injuries? Was the lack of energy because of the coach who was writing them down in the first round?
right,
You know what I'm saying? Was it because of playing against the dirty ass 76ers in the first round? Who, for all intents and purposes, the reason why Bogey's out because someone stepped on his foot.
right,
Which, whether you want to call it on purpose or not, I think it's on purpose. That's another story.
right, right,
But it's up to the coach to adjust to the situation instead of making Josh Hart go out there 48 freaking minutes, 6 or 7 games in a row. Utilize Alec Burks. And you saw what
right.
Alec Burks gave you.
Hmm.
This guy was not doing nothing during the regular season, and all of a sudden he was dropping the last game 26 points.
Right,
He was the only guy who was carrying that team
right.
in that first him and DiFicencio in Game 7.
Defense central. Yep.
And then I thought I thought the game was going to turn around because it came within 6 points
Yes.
in the third quarter, and then all of a sudden they
Right.
had a turnover. They had a turnover, a bad turnover,
By
and then it
who? Do you remember who?
was Brunson. Yeah, bad turnover, bad turnover, 5 point swing, back to a 15 point lead.
Right.
After that 5 point swing,
That's why I was like, I knew he was off at that point when he got when they got the steal. We knew from previous games watching Brunson play, he was tired. Get back to it. He was tired. When he's tired, he makes those irrational. There's nothing rational about how it happened.
hmm
Nothing rational about that. And then you keep just, I don't know. Thank you for a good season, Brunson.
no, I mean, no. Let's not take away from Brunson. Let's not take away from
No, I
Brunson.
can't. I said thank you for a good season. I
And
did. I retract.
I mean, we do thank Brunson. We thank all the Knicks for the great season. But
Right.
I'm speaking from a point where I want to be in this game. In this game, yo, I don't play basketball. I never had the gift to make it to the pro leagues. As far as basketball wise go, you want to talk about baseball? That's definitely in the argument. But I
I
won't
was
talk
too.
about that. I won't
I
talk
was
about
too
that.
short. I was too
I,
short, and I
I
was a
won't talk
ball
about that part. I won't talk about baseball on that level. But you
I
know,
was too short, and I was a bull
we
hog.
we, we, we could argue all day about that with baseball, and I probably would win the argument. You flash me some money in my face, I'll be in the pro leagues. Trust and believe that. But this is a learn. This is a learning. I hope Jalen learns from this. I really do. The
Not just
importance,
him, not just Jalen, but you got to Thibodeau. I hope Thibodeau learns from this situation. Learn from
bro,
this. Study the tapes. Study the
bro,
tapes.
bro. This guy has been to 3 different teams and ran his plays
Oh.
down. Derrick Rose's career is not the Hall of Fame career he's supposed to have because of the coach.
Uh, we could say that about a lot of veteran players during our time till now.
That has to change. The mentality has to change as far as
Yeah,
you know running these players down, playing these ISO ball type of offense. You gotta have ball movement, play movement, and don't forget Hartelstein was hurt too. Hartelstein looked
yeah.
tired. He looked extremely tired.
He was beat.
He looked
He
extremely
gave it.
tired.
He gave. He gave what he gave what he had last game. That's what I was saying. They needed rest. They needed rest.
They needed
That
to
win
the
would have set him. That win would have set him up. Going
game
back
three.
to what you said earlier,
Mhm.
the win would have set him up.
The pivotal games, bro, in this series was Game 3 and Game 6.
Right. Those were
Game
the
3
needed.
and Game 6. You had to win those those 2 games. Were the games that you had to win
Right.
because when you get to Game 7, like I said before, is win or go home. Anything
Mm.
could happen. And as you saw in Game 7, Jalen gets fractures his hand in the third quarter. Game set match.
That was it. It brought the morale. I saw the morale of the team deflate.
hmm
I saw the
They,
morale of the team. Not rather than the coach at that point, rather than the coach building their team back up. As far as we still got more in us, we still got more players to put in there. Don't worry about that, and let somebody else take the lead in that situation. I felt like maybe that could have helped
mhm,
motivate them to win the game. But instead, he was like when they interviewed him and said, "Is Brunson coming back in the game?" He didn't have no comment. He put his head down and walked away.
mhm.
That would have been the perfect time. No, we got this under control. We want him to rest, rest. Let him get better. We got this.
And they lost 130 to 109. You know what I'm saying? Got to give credit what's credit due. Pacers won that game. They won. That's
They
probably the
did.
only. This is probably the only game I felt they actually won.
No, they won. They
um,
won that game. There was no question about that. A lot of 3 pointers they took. A lot of opportunities they took advantage of. The inbounding they took the inbounding passes. I was like, wow. I rarely see that in basketball where the inbound throw after they receive the ball, they just snatch it, easy layup on
but let
like
me
a couple occasions.
Let me explain. So let me explain to you what happened in the third quarter. Coming off a timeout, you get a 5 second violation. That can't happen off a damn timeout in Game 7. That cannot happen.
Oh, that was another thing. Yeah,
That
I
that
remember
cannot
that.
happen, especially the type
Right,
of pressure that the
right.
Indiana Pacers playing in that game was full court pressure throughout
Full
the
press.
opportunity, full press. You got to have all your ball handlers in the back court to help
Right,
facilitate the easy lanes to pass.
right.
You can't take a 5 second call on that. You cannot do that.
Uh,
But hindsight is 2020. I can't wait to have Matthew to join me on the podcast, which hope I will have him later this week.
mm,
Hopefully, we'll make sure we gonna make
right.
that happen. But I will be doing
Okay.
the podcast from Orlando later this week. So we'll have my laptop with me. I will be in Orlando doing another podcast later this week. But like I said, let's talk about the highlights of the season. You know what I'm saying? The Knicks second seeded in the Eastern Conference.
Right.
Took advantage of opportunities. Giannis was hurt.
Mm,
You know what I'm saying? Embiid was hurt for most of the season. They were able to leapfrog into the second seed and gain that home court advantage against the Sixers and a home court advantage against the Pacers. It worked
mm,
out in the first series. It didn't work out in the second series. Okay,
right.
this team played with a lot of heart and grit, and they were must see TV for the first. The New York Knicks was must see TV for the first time, and God knows how long. How long?
Even retired Nick fans.
You
Even
know?
for retired Nick fans,
Yes.
they put their jerseys back on.
You know what I'm saying? I believe I thoroughly believe Jalen Brunson's the MVP, definitely the MVP of the New York Knicks.
Yeah,
Definitely, you got to put him in the running for the MVP for the NBA.
yeah,
Granted, what comments were saying about Jalen Brunson in this podcast doesn't think people out there don't think I believe that. I do believe that, but he could be even better
yeah. He could be better than
than
that.
what he was. You could drop 40 points, you could drop 30 some points per game and give me 15 assists too.
Right, right.
Because the main objective is it's not about scoring points.
No,
It's making it very easy for yourself.
right. Be rounded. Be
Yeah.
well rounded. Hart,
Mm-hmm.
like Hart. He knew for the most part rebounds and steals.
Mm-hmm.
If he could throw a three in there and make it, he's doing that. If he can make the layup or get the foul and get to the line, he's gonna do that too.
Mm. And I felt bad for him because he was hurt. He was hurt.
Yeah,
Abdominal strains, when you strain your core, it's all
yeah,
about fatigue. That's when
yeah.
you strain your core when you're tired.
It's right, right.
So, and I like the next man up mentality that was poured about in this team. Alec Burks, who I thought everyone thought during the regular season that he was done. He stepped up in this series,
He stepped up. Yes,
18
it was
points,
it was good to see.
26 points. He came in like the Grizzly veteran that he was and provided a spark in that team, provided some scoring punch in that series and some defensive help. I just felt that they could have used him in the 76ers series as well to take some
Right,
time off for Josh Hart, take some time off for Jalen Brunson. Because keep in mind, Alec Burks can bring the ball up the floor.
right.
You
That's
need to
another
give.
thing I realized too. Right,
He could bring the
you're
ball up.
right.
He could bring the ball up court too. You don't have to have Jalen bring it up all the time.
No, and
You had
after
Burks
a
there
while, it
who could have
becomes
done it.
predictable.
Yeah, yeah,
It becomes too predictable, and now we're gonna make players go after Brunson, have a 2-on-1 in that situation, frustrate him pretty much, or fluster him, make him so
mhm,
he makes a pass, not looking or something like that. They steal the ball, take it back up court, easy point.
right. Make
Was
the offense easier for yourself. This was what I was talking
right,
about with Julius Randle when he was playing. Make the game easier for yourself. Yes, we
right,
know you can score 25 points per game. Yes, we know we can score 20 points per game. But what's the effort What's the degree of difficulty in you getting those points? You got to make that easier for
correct.
yourself.
Another thing they did with the 76ers is not the 76ers, the Pacers in the beginning of the series. Um, they slowed down to their pace. They weren't going. Knicks weren't going at the Pacer pace. They slowed it down to their pace.
I
That's
have to
another
dis-
thing. Like
I have to disagree with you on that because the Pacers' pace is fast. It's always been
it is a
fast.
fast. It's
The
a
Knicks,
fast
the,
pace,
the Knicks
but
should have slowed it
it's
down. They should have slowed it down.
that's
That's
what
what
I'm
they should have
saying.
done. Hmm.
That's what I'm saying. They should have slowed it down to their pace,
Hmm.
to the Nick pace, not to the Pacer pace. Because you
Okay.
got to make it frantic for them. If frantic for them to make a point. When they're frantic trying to move at that speed, that's when I see a lot of mistakes for the Pacers.
Hmm.
They're not. They're running gunners, yeah, if they're in charge of the situation. But if they're not in charge of the situation, that's when you see the missteps. You see a lot of that happen when they're flustered and trying to be at that pace.
They're a younger team who
They
hasn't
are,
experienced this type
but
of
this is,
basketball.
but this is where the veteran status comes in. Jalen Brunson has experience playing in those type of championship games. Like he's had championships that he's been involved in, whether it be college
College.
or whatever.
No, it's only
Right.
college. He had two of them in
No,
college.
I'm just saying he had that type of experience, so you can kind of transfer that to the NBA and kind of read the situation in that. Your father is right there, man. Like he's not advising you on these situations.
Got you. Got you. But no,
Isn't he
last step,
defensive defensive coordinator?
man, listen. They need an offense.
Go ahead.
They need an offensive coordinator for that team. I'll tell you that much. Get me some.
Right.
Get me a coach that can put implement a offense with a pick and roll, player movement and ball movement, and this team will be a different team. I
Phil
guarantee you. I
Jackson.
promise you. No, no,
Phil
no, no, no,
Jackson.
no, 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 no. No, Eve, but I must say, no, no. I'm gonna say something. I'm gonna say something.
Go ahead.
Not because of his offense. I don't want Phil Jackson, but I do see where this team is much more built for a triangle offense than a team that had Carmelo Anthony in it. Because
Right. This.
you got a center at Hartelstein who can handle the ball at the elbow.
Right.
So that's the key to the triangle offense.
Right.
And the all triangle offense opens up the opportunity for offensive rebounds as well. So,
Correct.
um, but let me get back to the highlights, bro. Because I want to get to the lowlights right after.
Okay.
Um, the last highlight, which I want to talk about, is my man Deuce McBride.
Okay.
He stepped up in his playoffs big time.
Yeah.
In my opinion, he already made his contract extension undervalued. In my opinion,
Right.
he's playing above his contract extension, guys. The Knicks were smart to lock him up for that amount.
Right.
Just saying.
Right.
Just saying. Now let's get to the lowlights. I think we spoke about it earlier, but we're going to reiterate it again. Lowlights: players was run down and burnt out by Game 7.
True.
Playing too many minutes. Dante played too many minutes. Josh played too many minutes. OG, that's usually I heard his hamstring, played too many minutes. Jalen,
He gave everything that he had,
he
man.
gave everything. He gave everything that he had. Yes, he did, and that's the coach's fault because you should have
Yeah.
protected him.
Yeah, he should have
He did a better
protected him.
job protecting him.
I
And
think
Isaiah
that's why
Hartenstein,
I'm a little bit mad about that. Go ahead.
the coach should have done a better job in trusting his other players on the bench to step in
Yes.
and fill in for him at key junctures in the game.
Right.
I was explaining to Matt the last episode we were on how that Thibodeau didn't take a chance to cheat on getting rest for Brunson. Which I mean by cheating is the last 2 minutes of each quarter, pull him out.
Right.
Pull him out. You not only get the TV timeout, and you get to change your quarter timeout. He would get at least 5 or 6 minutes of rest
Right.
in each of those quarters, and he's ready for the fourth quarter, ready to rock and roll.
Right.
So that's the way I would have done it. Now it's all about the coach. Now this all the low light is the coach. Even though he's a great coach, I'm not advocating for him to get fired. I'm not advocating for that at all. But
Right.
he has to look himself in the mirror and realize this. I need to change some things in my coaching methods during the game.
Right.
You know what I'm
Or
saying?
get advice. Get advice from get an advisor or a mentor. Something. You have to go back.
I'm gonna make a big comparison, bro.
Go ahead.
The New York Knicks, the eighth seed, 98-99 season where they faced the San Antonio Spurs. Patrick
Mhm.
Ewing was playing with a
Mhm.
bad Achilles tendon.
Mhm.
He played up until I believe he got injured. I forgot which series he got injured in,
Mhm.
but no, I believe it was the early in the East Conference Finals that year.
Okay.
But Jeff Van Gundy knew he couldn't rely on his old the Lord Chief Rocker Patrick Ewing anymore.
Right.
He had Allen Houston, he had Latrell Sprewell on that team. He turned his team into an up tempo team. They went from a half court team to an up tempo team.
Mhm.
They went on. They beat Miami in 5. They swept the Hawks and beat the Pacers in 6 games.
Mhm.
That's because he had to change his style. He had to change his style a bit to
Right.
fit the talent on the team that was healthy enough to take him to the promised land. And guess what? They went to the NBA Finals.
Oh yeah.
They had injuries too.
Right.
Patrick was out for the Achilles strain. LJ was in the NBA Finals with one leg, injured
Mhm.
his knee bad. Many thought he wasn't even going to be playing in the NBA Finals, but he played in the NBA Finals.
Mhm.
This is what I'm saying: adjusting to the personnel on your team because of the injuries.
Mhm.
He's stubborn. He kept his rotation the way it was. And as Alec Burks showed you, he should have went to that earlier. Maybe you would have saved the hits that Josh Hart was getting.
Right.
Defense Central was getting. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Next low light, um, which I think could be corrected. Because I know Jalen's going to take full responsibility of them not going to the Eastern Conference Finals. I know he is. He already did that already. But
Right.
Jalen needs to get his be less more ball dominant. And that comes with the players that you're going to bring in for next year.
Right.
Bring somebody in that's going to alleviate him bringing the ball up court all the time.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Do find someone who could do that. And again, we're going back to the coaching. I said last thing about the coaching, but I'm gonna say this. I said this earlier in the podcast. ISO ball does not win you championships in this NBA playoffs.
Right. It doesn't.
It does not. You got to have an offensive system to help your team win.
Thank
A
you.
real offensive system. So now, my next step for the New York Knicks. This is a question I'm gonna have. I'm gonna put it out there in the air, and hopefully Matt is watching. You know what I'm saying? I know he's gonna be watching the podcast. I'll have some great questions, which I think I have like it's not 21 questions, but there's a lot of questions. I think it's about 10 questions for the New York Knicks.
Mhm.
I probably got more than that off the top of my head. I just wrote some down. Will OG Anunoby resign with the New York Knicks? There's been rumors that
Mm.
he's going to decline the player option, go free agent. I think there's going to be an opportunity there to resign him. Yes, I think the Knicks should resign him,
I
and I
think so
probably most
too.
likely will.
Right.
Now, the next question I do have is: will the Knicks be able to sign the guy who I beat up his first season at the New York Knicks at Hartelstein? Now he's becoming a key cog. On he maybe eat a lot of crow this season. Maybe eat a lot of crow
Oh,
this season.
right.
Will the Knicks be
Um,
able to keep Hartelstein and Mitchell Robinson, that tandem, together for
right.
next season and years to come?
Right.
Do the Knicks
They they've
trade? Mhm.
they've cultivated a good chemistry. They've cultivated a good chemistry. I like it.
Now, next question is: do the Knicks trade Julius Randle? Now, I'm gonna say something about this. I've been the biggest Julius Randle critic since his tenure
Hmm.
with the New York Knicks.
Right.
I've seen what this team could be with him healthy, OG
Right.
healthy, and the entire roster healthy.
Hmm.
And what I saw was 14-2.
Okay.
I will be willing to give him another shot with this team, fully healthy, with all those parts there for one more season before I say trade him. That's
Hmm.
me. That's just me. Now is
That's generous.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But you know what it is? You can't ignore 14-2.
No.
You can't ignore it. You cannot ignore that. Now, the search for New York Knicks for another superstar.
Hmm.
A lot of rumors out there for Donovan Mitchell. Is he the answer that'll help the Knicks put the Knicks over to the next level? And this is where I think coaching has a lot to do with it.
Okay.
If you think if you think Donovan Mitchell, you're gonna play him 40 minutes per game and he's gonna last the entire season, that's all I'm saying about that. That's up to the coach.
Right.
If he's willing to change his ways, that's gonna be totally up to the
Hmm.
coach. But now bringing in Donovan Mitchell, you'll put
Hmm.
defense central back on the bench, which will help the bench with scoring punch coming off the bench.
Right.
Josh Hart goes back to the bench when Julius Randle comes back to the team. You get another Energizer Bunny off the bench. It will help the
Hmm.
bench, but can the coach utilize it properly? All right. My next question is, all right, Julius and Jalen are up for extensions right now. Do you extend them now or wait till after the next season to extend them? And the reason why I'm saying this is because of cap situation,
Oh,
salary
money
cap.
wise. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
you gotta even though they do have bird rights, you gotta be flexible with the salary cap to maintain your flexibility to sign other players.
Right.
If they sign this year, they'll make less in the extension. If they sign the year after, they make more. They get more of a max under the bird rights.
Okay.
So it's a good thing for this team to think about long term. Think about long term and short term. Okay.
Right.
And my next question is: does Thibodeau have what it takes to coach a deep and talented basketball team? And the reason why I have that question is because if you're going to bring in players that contribute to this team,
Right.
will he still try to run his 6, 7 man rotation instead of opening up to 8 and sometimes 9 man rotation?
Right.
The Pacers beat this team with a 9 man rotation.
Yeah. Fresh players. They have fresh players.
With a 9 man rotation.
Right.
Their
They
top
have
player,
fresh players.
Halliburton,
Yeah.
their top players, Halliburton and Siakam played at most 35 to 37 minutes a game.
I hate them.
But I'm gonna go. I'm gonna say something about Siakam. I'm gonna speak. I'm gonna say after I get through my questions. I'm gonna
Hmm.
say something about Siakam
Hmm.
and whether the Knicks failed in that trade for OG Anunoby. I'm gonna get to that.
Hmm.
Give me 1 second.
Okay. Okay.
Next question is: would you take a chance on Kevin Durant now? The way the team is built right now,
Hmm.
Kevin Durant looks like he's done.
Hmm.
He said some fucked up shit about the New York Knicks.
I don't. I don't. I don't think he's coming to the Knicks. Like I don't think the Knicks would want him in that, and he would have to prove himself like really hard.
Mm.
He would have to prove himself. Like it's not gonna be an easy road. As they have a better chance of Oakley coming into Knicks Stadium.
I believe somewhere, shape, or form. I believe Charles Oakley will be back at the Garden next season. I think he'll be back in the Garden next season. Um, but nevertheless, last two questions, bro. Last two questions, Matt. You got to be watching, Matt. Would you, as a Knicks fan or in the Knicks front office, sign LeBron James
No.
for this team?
I know Matt said something about LeBron James is possible for the New York. I believe I remember him saying something about that. I don't want to see it. Matt said it's possible, I believe.
It is possible.
He said it's a
Now,
big possibility.
now the final question, in which I believe if the Knicks are able to pull this off, they're going to be in the NBA Finals next season with the
Hmm.
team currently as it is right now. May have to lose some parts.
Right.
Is do they have a chance to trade for Jimmy Butler?
Mm,
Jimmy
okay.
Butler. There seems to be a little issue friction between him and Pat Riley down there in Miami.
Mm,
Jimmy Butler is a little bit older. He's 35. He's going to be 35 years old at the start of the season next season. Should
right.
the Knicks kick the tire on that deal?
Mm.
Just imagine Jimmy Butler and OG Anunoby in the starting lineup with Jalen Brunson,
How tall is he?
6'6", 6'7".
Yeah.
OG
I, I,
Butler, OG
I'm.
Butler, Brunson, Randle, and either Mitch or Hartelstein at the center position. That's a
Yeah. I just.
ooh,
We need bigger
ooh,
players.
ooh,
We need a couple bigger players.
ooh, 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 ooh,
I don't like this David versus Goliath type fucking basketball games.
ooh,
That's what it was looking like.
ooh.
I don't like this David versus Goliath
I don't, I
basketball
don't, I
game.
don't, I
Um,
don't, I don't care about his age, Jimmy Butler's age. But I know
right.
when it comes playoff time, I see
He's gonna
playoff
put in the
Jimmy.
work.
He'll put in that work. Playoff Jimmy.
Right. He's
You
gonna
know what I'm
put in the
saying?
work. That's what we need. We need somebody who's gonna put the work in.
To take the pressure off Brunson, to the pressure
Right.
off Randall.
Right.
That's big time. All right. So before I let the fans go, let this podcast go. I'm gonna say something about Pascal Siakam. The Knicks
Okay.
gave up OG. The Knicks gave up IQ and RJ Barrett
Hmm.
for OG Anunoby and Precious Achua. They got
Right.
Precious. Julius Randle was already out. Or was no, he's still playing. I felt, in my opinion, if we throw in some draft picks,
Hmm.
Siakam could have been wearing a Knick uniform as well.
I could see it, and I wouldn't have a problem with it. Um, I just would like to see the chemistry of the team, because having those type of players on the team, you got to see how they mesh with the other players. Can he build the camaraderie with the Nick players? That's that's what it'll boil down to.
I think he did a
I'm
hell
not.
of a job with the. I wouldn't doubt he wouldn't. I think he would have. Now it goes like I said, it goes also about the coaching because now you have a
Coaching is the other.
situation.
Yeah,
You have a situation that you have
coaching's
to
the
come
other
off.
part.
He may have to come off the bench,
Right.
or you put Julius at the center position and have that dynamic going on.
Right.
So, guys, I do thank you guys for hearing me vent for the past 45 some odd minutes about a disappointing Nick loss. I really guys hope you enjoyed the podcast. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I was hoping to have somebody jump on the podcast and throw their 2 cents in, but I guess it didn't happen. But
Not
on
this
that
one.
note,
We'll get them in. We'll get them at a different time, but they're committed and they're
mhm.
committed.
On that note, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank Joey G for my brother joining me on the podcast. Keep me calm from not punching the screen I'm looking at or cursing more than I really wanted to curse. But Joe,
Right.
bro, thank you for joining me on the podcast. You know what I'm
No
saying?
problem.
So, on that note, guys, we're gonna sign off on this podcast. It's your man Big Dom. Any final words, Joey G?
Check on your family. Check on your family. If you have a mother or father that's still out there, aunt, uncle that's up in age, check on them, see how they're doing. You haven't talked to a family member in a minute, talk to them, find out how they're doing. You have people in the family that are sitting in the house with the blinds closed and things of that nature. Check on them. They need somebody to talk to. Don't forget them.
Definitely. On that note, guys, it's your man Big Dom, Joe G was signing off. Hopefully, I see you live at Orlando for the next podcast episode later this week. If not, it'll be for when I come back. All right. So it's your man Big Dom, Joe G was signing off for this podcast. Final four, guys. Pacers, Celtics, Mavericks, and Timberwolves. Final four. We sign off. Peace.
Peace.